The Bears traded the number 1 overall pick, and they completely shook up the NFL draft. Some people are saying this is maybe the biggest haul ever for the number 1 overall pick. Some people are saying, relax, it will be fine. But nonetheless, the Bears got the number 9 pick, the number 61 pick, so a first and second this year, first rounder also for next year, a second rounder for 2025. And then they bring in DJ Moore, of course, who is going to help Justin Fields. And in return, the Carolina Panthers get the number 1 overall pick. Let's start with the obvious question, Marcus. Is this too much of a haul from Carolina just to move up to number 1? Are the quarterbacks really worth it in this draft, man?
The quarterbacks are worth it, but the problem is, and what you could see in Carolina is you could see the same thing that we've seen with a couple of young guys that have been drafted is whoever it is, whether it's Bryce Young, whether it's C.J. Stroud, whoever the Carolina Panthers draft, who are they going to throw the ball to?
Yeah.
Who are they going to throw the ball to? So it's a lot. I've seen people say like the Bears fleeced Carolina. I won't go that far. I mean, you could definitely make the argument because of that. But when you look at this, I don't think this is a win-win scenario. Like I just can't see it. This is 100% a win for the Bears. It's to be determined on whether or not this comes out on the good side for the Panthers. But the Bears undoubtedly, at least on paper, have won this trade.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel you on that. Darby wants to know real quick. He's a loyal fan. What team are you a fan of? I feel like I don't even know either, man. That's so important. We're on an NFL podcast together. Who's your NFL team, dude?
I'm a Packers fan.
Okay, you're a Packers fan. Gotcha. I feel like I knew that for some reason. I know you and Justin.
One of my first off season, I had you on to talk NFC South. We talked Antonio Brown and a bunch of other stuff. It was a while ago. It's been a minute.
Yeah.
But I'm a Packers fan. It's tough.
Heard that. Yeah, it definitely is. Packers fans, NFC fans in general, you're just like, Jesus, can we get into competition? The AFC's loading up. Darby, appreciate you jumping in as always. Y'all get in the chat as you see at the top. Get in the chat. Chat is free, no charge. I know some folks out there with the super chats. We're not there yet, but if you want to get us there, please make sure to subscribe again at GTP Marcus for the guest tonight on the show. So you take a look at some of the trades that have happened for the number 1 pick, right? The Rams 2016 haul, of course, for Jared Goff feels like it's almost as big as this year's pick. Or this year's, first overall pick trade. At the time, they gave up 2 firsts, 2 seconds, and 2 thirds. And I'm not going to get here and get caught up in, they drafted this guy and this guy turned into that, because that just kind of seems senseless. We don't know what happens until that happens, and then what's the trajectory of those guys by the time it pans out. Now, you take a look at DJ Moore. He is worth more than 2 thirds for sure, so you can kind of say that it's leaning, okay, there was a couple firsts, there was a couple seconds in this, but I think the way DJ Moore produces and what he's going to do for Justin Fields, he's worth more than 2 than 2 thirds if you kind of want to compare it in that fashion. And on average, over 5 years, he's going to get you 73 catches a year, 1,040 yards, and 4 touchdowns. You just take his yearly averages, obviously, or his totals, and split them up to get those numbers there. And if you want to get into the semantics of, what the picks will turn into, then yeah, this could easily turn into the biggest haul. But as of right now, I feel like it's the number 1 biggest haul in trade history, again, because you look at the Rams deal, 2 firsts, 2 seconds, 2 thirds. You get matched with the 2 firsts, you get matched with the 2 seconds, but knowing what DJ Moore has done, and I know some people are going to be like, he might have fell off last year, whatever the case may have been. We've seen what he's capable of on the field, and this is going to be great for Justin Fields next to a Darnell Mooney, next to a Chase Claypool, guys that we've kind of forgot about that are still there in Chicago and are really going to benefit Justin Fields. Now, with the trades shaking up the entire draft, we got to know who's going to go number 1 overall. So we'll start there, Marcus. Who is Carolina going to draft now that they have, as of today, the number 1 overall pick?
I feel like the Carolina Panthers should still draft the best quarterback in the draft, and that's still Bryce Young. I mean, I know Anthony Richardson had himself a heck of a combine was that last week or the week before last?
Yeah.
Hitting all kinds of records as a quarterback. And so that, and I know that C.J. Stroud is in the conversation, but Bryce Young's been the best quarterback in college football for the last year or two. That hasn't changed, despite what we've seen from Anthony Richardson, despite what we've seen from Stroud, despite what we've seen from Will Levis. So if the Panthers are smart, they'll draft Bryce Young, because they should, because he's the best quarterback in the draft. And there's no way, they're not building around Matt Corral. I think I read somewhere that they might cut him or something like that, or at least they're shopping him around the league or something. So you draft, at this point, you draft the best quarterback available, and that person is Bryce Young. Unfortunately, he has no one to throw the ball to, and so their draft is going to have to be perfect, because they're going to have to bring in some other talent so you can have some weapons around him. But Bryce Young should be I'd be shocked if he's not a Carolina Panther. That's if the Panthers stay at 1.
Yeah, and I see some reports also, and I agree with you. I won't all the way lean in on Bryce Young being the absolute best quarterback because I really love what I see from CJ Stroud. He's my personal favorite. I still got to get deep into the tape, and I know we got the draft coming up in, I think, 6 or 7 weeks now, which is crazy. But the reports are nonetheless that the Panthers are eyeing CJ Stroud first overall, which, again, I agree with, my favorite guy in the draft. Although I know about the whole Ohio State doesn't put NFL quarterbacks out at a good rate or really put, NFL quarterbacks out at all. But the one reason that this really tells me with them moving up, as big of a haul as they went, knowing the reports of CJ Stroud, that was the really big, trait kind of for Frank Reich is when he came over. We saw him legendarily with the Carson Wentz's, with a little bit of Phillip Rivers, with the Matt Ryans, your basic big build guy, stand in the pocket, deliver the football. I might have lost Marcus, but we'll jump him back in. No worries. Boom. You're back, man. You good?
Yeah, I'm good. The wind is just crazy.
No worries. You're fine. Hey, it lets me know when you pop. So nonetheless, I mean, if you pop out, we'll get you back in and we'll be good to go. I know you're here for the whole show, so nonetheless,
yeah, we're here from start
technology. We just got to bear with technology. But yeah, I mean, we've seen Frank Reich, whether it's a Matt Ryan, whether it's a Carson Wentz, whether it's a little bit of Phillip Rivers, like he wants your big, 6'2", 6'3" plus guy, getting in the pocket, not necessarily jumping around, reading the defense, delivering the ball. And that's what CJ Stroud, I feel like, presents the most overall, more than a Bryce Young, more than an Anthony Richardson, not only on tape, but for especially Frank Reich's liking as well. Now let's flip over to Chicago. Who should Chicago now look to go after, whether it's the 9th pick? Let's just kind of stick there because it can get deeper. Sure. But now that they fall into 9, who do you think they should pursue?
I think they go defense. I mean, I love Bijan Robinson and I love Jahmyr Gibbs, but I don't think 9 is the spot for a running back. There's a lot of talent.
It would have to be Bijan if they went running back.
If they were going to reach at 9, it'd have to be Bijan because I think he's the best running back in the draft class.
By far.
If they wanted to, I mean, again, like when you look at what they need, right, and this is no shot at Cole Kmet, right? All their needs are primarily defensively, but if you're talking specifically offense, obviously they can take some help on the O-line, but they've kind of addressed some of that through free agency these past couple of days. I think any one of these tight ends, that's whether it's Darnell Washington, whether it's Sam Laporta, whether it's Michael Mayer, whoever it is, will be better than Cole Kmet. And that's no shot at Cole Kmet because I think Cole Kmet is a pretty solid tight end. But again, you're not going to take a tight end at 9. It's just not happening. These are great tight ends. Yeah. This might be the greatest tight end class of all time potentially, but you're not going to take a tight end at 9. They go defense. Now, they could show that they're all in on Justin Fields. And I tweeted this a couple of days ago, or maybe it was like a day ago, and one person responded with just complete disgust. And I'll read the tweet. I said that the Bears trading for DJ Moore is the same as the Eagles trading for AJ Brown during the draft last year. Now, will it result in the Bears going to the Super Bowl this year? No, of course not. It won't result in the Bears going to the Super Bowl. But does it have the potential to boost Fields into the MVP conversation next year? It absolutely does. We're talking about a guy in DJ Moore, as you mentioned, is a lock for at least 1,100 yards a season, four touchdowns, and 73 catches, 4 touchdowns. Right? When you look at who they have on their offense right now, we're talking Chase Claypool and Darnell Mooney. Neither of those guys are number 1. If I had to pick between the two, I'd pick that. I would have Claypool as the 2. Yeah. And Darnell Mooney as the speedster. You get a guy in DJ Moore who can go out there and be this number 1 reliable target for a young Justin Fields who's still developing as a quarterback, which is crazy because he's already super, super talented right now.
Yep.
This has the potential to turn into, on paper, as it pertains to Justin Fields' jump from year 2 to year 3. Right. This has the potential to be that Jalen Hurts-like jump. Right, Jalen Hurts didn't play much.
That's what I advocated for. Right? I said Josh Allen looked different when Stephon Diggs came over. I said, 100%. Jalen Hurts jumped into that conversation. Super Bowl MVP, best player in the league when AJ Brown came over.
Yeah, man. I now, as a Packers fan, it's against my religion to talk all these great things about the Bears, of course. But I have to call it like I see it. Right, Jalen Hurts didn't play many games his rookie season. He came in that entire full season. Right. Got the team in the Eagles that wasn't that good into the wild card, and then they go get AJ Brown, and now they're a Super Bowl. They're in the Super Bowl, right? Mm-hmm. I'm not saying that the Bears are going to be Super Bowl contenders. Of course not, because they have a lot of things to fix, primarily defensively. But I do think, though, that the Chicago Bears, in an NFC that is in shambles, we're the best team in the NFC. That last year lost a lot of pieces in the Philadelphia Eagles, and the other team that could potentially be the best in the San Francisco 49ers, their number 1 quarterback is Sam Darnold, and I'm a Sam Darnold fan, but Sam Darnold is not a world beater, and I know he's not, even though I'm a fan. So this NFC is wide open, and I think the Bears this year are going to be what the Lions were last year, a sneaky team that's going to be a tough out, and if they draft well this season, they could potentially sneak into the playoffs.
Yeah, and based off everything that you had just said there, processing that to me is like, how do you not go offensive line? Chicago was
100%. Yeah.
I thought they were the most sacked team in the NFL, but got into the numbers. They were the fourth most sacked team with 58 on Justin Fields. So clearly they want him to last. Like you said, he's very talented. I was very shocked when I actually looked back at the rushing numbers as well, and I was like, damn, this guy was less than 70 yards away from breaking Lamar Jackson's record.
Yeah,
that's impressive. Clearly Justin Fields, ran all over the yard this year. But whether it's, Peter Skoronski out of, I think they said that right, Skoronski out of Northwestern, or Paris Johnson from Ohio State as well, Paris Johnson Jr., you got to go out and get one of those guys, right? You want to protect Justin Fields. It starts in the trenches. It ends in the trenches. I've said that. Anybody that knows football, you can get fancy with the wide receivers and the running backs and the tight ends. But if you have a quarterback and at a bare minimum, a left tackle, something to bolster him, especially protect his blind side, we know Justin Fields needs that. And again, some are going to be leaning Jackson Smith and Jigba. I love JSN out of the draft. 9 would feel kind of high again. I feel like a Bijan Robinson, like his explosiveness, his speed. I feel like there's a major gap between Bijan and obviously Jahmyr Gibbs. Some might not agree, but to me, like when I watch the tape, like Bijan's just out of the park, right? In order to reach for a JSN, I feel like you could still get value later in the first round, second round, third round. We see later receivers in the draft, Tyreek Hill, DK Metcalf. Not saying they're going to pull one of those guys, but people forgetting again about a Darnell Mooney, about a Chase Claypool, like you mentioned. So with DJ Moore, I think they should chill on receivers. Running back would be really, really early at 9. Like you might piss some fans off with that. So I think, again, Paris Johnson Jr., get him real comfortable with a guy from Ohio State, or we know the dogs that come out of Northwestern. Shout out to Guru's Film Room. You put me on notice about those dudes that come out of that part of college football. They defend like no other for the offensive line. Now, last part about here before we move on. Gio, appreciate you jumping in the chat, by the way, man. I know we got Darren Waller to the Giants for a third-round pick. Not on the show tonight. We wanted to get locked in for all the news here, but there's a reason to tune in on Friday.
Real quick,
all right.
Say this
Go
too.
ahead.
Before we move on, so the draft order now, of course, the Panthers are 1. The Panthers are not going to draft an O-lineman. The Texans could maybe draft an O-lineman, maybe. I think Paris Johnson's the best O-lineman in the draft, 100%.
Right.
So we're talking about the Cardinals, who could use some O-line help. The Colts, while their O-line's still pretty good, I don't think they'll go O-line. The Broncos are not in the O-line business because the Broncos spent the most money so far in free agency.
Yep.
90% of that money has come to get that O-line together. So So the Broncos are not going to.
They just need a center, and they're straight.
Yeah, like the Broncos aren't going to be in the O-line business. I don't think the Rams are going to be in the O-line business. I think they have other things to worry about, primarily defensively, as opposed to the offensive line. And then you've got the Raiders and the Falcons, neither of whom I think also. So, like, if Paris Johnson is on the board at 9, the Bears have to take them. They absolutely have to take him if he's on the board. It would shock me if a team takes him off. But the Bears are in a great spot. They're in a great spot for next season. Yeah.
Excuse me. All right, next part here that we were going to get into. So the Panthers are now rumored to potentially trade down from that 9 spot if they see multiple quarterbacks that they like or that they see fit. I'm not really with that, but let's start with you, man. Do you think they could trade down? Not do you think they could trade down and recoup some draft picks, but would this be a wise move with them saying, hey, if there's a few quarterbacks we like? Because I think once you get out of the top 5, your 3-4 guys are going to be gone. Your thoughts though.
So again, if we're looking at, because the Panthers are 1 now, so we know the Texans are going quarterback.
Right. Yeah. 100%.
So that's one guy off the board. I'd be shocked if the Cardinals go quarterback because I know Kyler's
there's
come
no
out.
way.
He's still young enough where you can still build around him. So Kyler's coming back.
Right.
The Colts are likely going to go. The Colts are likely going to go quarterback as well. So there's 2. The Broncos are set with Russ. They're going all in on Russ to kind of fix Russ. That's why Sean Payton's there. So they're set with Russ, and they pay him all that money.
Excited for the Broncos next year.
The Rams are an interesting one because Stafford's still there, and I think Stafford's still servable. I don't think they're going to draft a quarterback either. The Raiders just got Jimmy G, so they may draft a quarterback.
Wild.
And the Falcons are only going to draft a quarterback if they don't get Lamar. But even then, they might just go all in on Desmond Ridder because they just got him last season. So theoretically, we're talking about, of course, the Bears at 9 now, who would have Justin Fields, and the Saints just got Derek Carr for 4 years, and then the Titans have it's a while before they could trade down theoretically. I wouldn't advise them trading down, but if you look at all the teams go down, the first team I see in the order that I would say they're going to draft a quarterback will be the Commanders at 16.
Yeah.
So theoretically, the Panthers could afford to trade down within the top 15 and still be okay. It just all depends on, but I wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
Because if you want to be successful,
you really got to depend on the draft to fall a certain way to make it worth it.
You're going to want Bryce Young or CJ Stroud. No shot at Will Levis. No shot at Anthony Richardson. I just don't know. Unless the haul is like, I can't turn this down.
Right.
And that's the only way. But like, if they're trading down, you're going to have to be trading down, and you're going to have to get a lot. Because I do think there's a bit of space. There's a cushion there just because of the fact that there's a lot of teams after them that don't need a quarterback because they either just got one in free agency or they already have one. But the Panthers' best bet is to just take Stroud or Young at number one. Like, just do it. Don't even risk it. Because here's the thing. Like, the Rams could shock us and draft a quarterback. They could. Stafford doesn't have many years ahead of him. Like, they could draft a quarterback. The Falcons could draft a quarterback just to give some competition to Desmond Ridder. Like, the Titans could draft a quarterback even though they have Malik Willis and Ryan Tannehill. So, like you said, we really don't know for sure what it's going to look like. I'm a Packers fan. I know firsthand. I thought a couple of years ago we weren't going to go quarterback, let alone trade up for Jordan Love. And what did we do? We trade up. We drafted Jordan Love. So you never really know what these other teams are thinking, even if their quarterback situation seems to be in good shape. If I'm the Panthers, stay put. I know it seems tempting, but also, like, could you imagine? Have we ever in the history of football had two teams trade down from number one? I don't think that's ever happened before. That would be crazy.
Yep.
I would advise against it, though, even though it seems right now like it is something that you could survive doing. I wouldn't do it.
Yeah, and I don't even know if I could say survive because, again, like you said, I mean, if we're really getting down to it, outside of Bryce Young and CJ Stroud, I'm not really looking at a franchise quarterback or a guy that I want to take a risk on, at any point in the draft, especially that high. So it's got to be either Bryce Young or CJ Stroud. And I've even got it here. I feel like Richardson, Stroud, and Young are going to be gone in the top 5 picks. Moving around in the top 4, I feel like would be the most that they could do. But again, like I know Frank Reich, but we've seen what Frank Reich likes in his quarterbacks, and he's going to want to reach for, or not even reach, but he's going to want to draft a CJ Stroud. And I just don't think you can hop around and kind of be risky at any point in this draft when, like Alan just said, I had his comment on the screen, the NFC South, it's going to be a bad division. Love my Saints. Like, clearly we see the gear, Derek Carr, all that good stuff, but it's going to be a bad year, right? For them to be able to jump into this spot, kind of mix it up, keep it competitive. We don't know what the Falcons are going to be also. I'm not saying they're going to be great, but and the same thing with the Bucs. So Carolina really getting to use this to their advantage, I feel like is definitely something that they need to take advantage of and realize how advantageous it really, again, like I said, for the first overall. Recouping would be necessary considering the talent in this draft. Panthers need an offense like no other when you go and look at their depth chart. And after trading DJ Moore, you trade first rounders possibly for this year, grab a first for next year, and probably either a second or a third, if not multiples, if someone wants to come and grab that first overall pick from you. Again, if someone is going to come grab the first overall pick from the Panthers, I'm saying probably 2 first rounders, one this year, maybe one next year. Or more than likely one this year, one next year, probably a second, if not multiple, or a third, if not multiple. We're going to see a bigger haul, for those guys, obviously, to move up in there. But again, I don't think they can be risky, man. They're in a really prime spot. They gave up a haul. I'm not risking it on a Will Levis. I'm just going to put it out there. I think Stetson Bennett, not because I'm a Georgia fan, looked better than Will Levis at the combine. And Stetson Bennett played in bigger times too.
I agree.
He really did. Anthony Richardson, love what he brings to the table. I see Trey Lance, Josh Allen, Cam Newton all day with a little twist of Lamar Jackson in there. But he's very unrefined. It's got to be Bryce Young or CJ Stroud. And like I said, based on Frank Reich, looks like it's going to be CJ Stroud. Y'all get in the chat. Let us know what you think about the Chicago Bears trading the first overall pick. Go ahead, man.
I think the most shocking thing for me about the Panthers is this is a football team in this lowly NFC South that was a loss from the Buccaneers in week 17 away from going to the playoffs.
Yep.
So, like, to send away DJ Moore was shocking because in my mind, you're thinking just draft yourself a quarterback at 9 and you're primed to be the best, potentially be the best team in the division. Yep. So Frank Reich's there, though. So, of course, maybe he just wants to get his own guys in there. But the Panthers are going to, now that they have the number 1 pick and they've given up all that they've given up on, the Panthers are going to have to be perfect what they have left for this season. And they're going to have to be perfect for our free agency if they think to bring anyone in because it's going – the margin for error for the Panthers now is so very tight because they've given away so many of those picks and so many of that potentially great talent away to the Chicago Bears. It's going to be tough for the Panthers for sure.
Yeah, definitely.